Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I'm Greg Crist. Wait a minute. There's nobody there. Dave Gorby is on the golf course tonight and not able to join us. So I don't know if he remembers we do a show on Thursdays, most Thursdays. We take one off every now and then, but apparently he forgot we have a show to do on Thursday night. So he's not with us tonight. So it'll just be me flying solo. I know you're going to enjoy that. This is the May 23rd edition. When I ask that you like and subscribe, if you will, on YouTube, like it, subscribe, Facebook, give us a like, throw comments, whatever you'd like to do. All that helps us keep this show going. So we ask that you be kind enough to do that. Also, we have a good guest tonight, a good friend of ours, friend of the show's, Coach Benetiz Jackson, the Oak Hill High School boys basketball coach. We wanted to get Benetiz on, talk to him a little bit about this new SSAC rule regarding sectional tournaments or the lack thereof, and how he thinks that, what impact he thinks it's going to have, and if he likes it, what's he hear from the coaches and that sort of thing. We want to get his input on that. So we'll also, I'll do my hell yells and hell nows without Gorby. I might add a few in there since he's not here. Of course, he never adds any anyway because he always forgets. So I'll go ahead and add mine in and talk about those as well. But like we always like to do, first and foremost, we want to go out to our one eye in the sky, our Chopper One NRN weather and traffic man, and his lovely sidekick, Muggy McLeod and Misty Rains. Hello, Muggy. Are you out there? Hello, Muggy.
Good evening, Coach. Can
There
you
you
hear
are.
me?
There you are.
Yes, you sound like a robot, Coach.
Uh-oh. We're
Yes, sir.
trying a little something new tonight. Have 4K, I think he said he called it. And I don't know, it might be something to do with that. We don't know. How about now?
Okay, well, maybe next week you need to try something newer, like 5K.
Maybe. Maybe.
Okay, Coach. Well, good evening to you and Mr. Gorby out there in the world listening from wherever he is.
Yep, I know where he is.
Yes, sir. This is Muggy McLeod with your one eye in the sky NRN Chopper One traffic and weather report. I am flying along with the wind beneath my wings, the adorable, lovable, unflappable Misty Rains.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir, Coach. We flew out to Texas to Global Life Field earlier in the week to watch the W baseball team in Big 12 tournament action, but can't seem to find them anywhere. Can't find a globe, much less any life in the WVU squad.
You probably passed them on the way out there going back home.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, Coach, if you had any idea on their whereabouts. I know you're in Morgantown. I thought you might have seen them land if they didn't quite have a good turnout.
I think they swung it to the airport and missed.
Yes, sir. Apparently so. Anyway, they obviously flew further than any baseballs they hit.
That's absolutely right.
Yes, sir. But, hey, since we're here in Texas where they say everything is bigger, all I can find is big tumbleweed and pickup trucks using a lot of that oil the state produces.
Mm-hmm.
And the flags. But anyway, I once heard that there's only steers and beers in Texas, but I don't see any horns or frothy foam on any of the men. But I do see some big 10-gallon hats for what it's worth.
Yep, there you go, Texas.
Okay, Coach, we are now flying around what appears to be the Bush compound. Where the family appears to be reading children's books around a Halliburton truck and pondering who in the hell shot J.R. Ewing. And I was going to say, hey, Gorby, that's a reference to the 70s show, but he's not there.
Yeah, most of our listeners will probably say, who?
Yes. Hopefully Mr. Gorby's out getting a weed eater to his beard or combing the food out of it. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, I do too.
Or maybe even getting a date. That would be something unusual as well. Anyway, the Arlington Armadillos are apparently in town, so we focused over on them. They are conveniently located on Dick Price Road, but they seem to be splattered from berm to berm. The Arlington Armadillos. Anyway, also located on Dick Price Road is the Hateful Heritage Retirement Home. Home of the old crusty white dudes that used to live out here. They're all old and hateful, and they are also home of the Nurse of the Year, Beulah Ballbreaker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, sir. Known for her ability to find the main vein
Yeah.
sticking you for blood draws.
Yes, you can do it.
Yes, sir, Coach. Well, speaking of the main vein, tonight's weather is brought to you by 808 Hateful Heritage Retirement Home, where by mentioning this ad when you take Grandpa there for a visit, they will throw in a free sponge bath and a hot soup on Sundays for you, not Grandpa. Anyway, Coach. Yeah.
Soup, yeah.
And you get a sponge bath only once a week.
Right.
Or soup once a week. I can't remember how that joke goes.
I think you get a sponge bath once a week. You fall down 4 or 5 times a day.
Yes, sir. That would be it. And Grandpa has been known to take a fall.
Yep.
He also was a carpenter.
Yes, he was.
Yes, sir. Anyway, Coach, the weather back home has been hot as a coal shovel in hell, and about almost as hot as it is here in Texas.
Yeah.
So now it's going to rain during your holiday weekend and be crappy as
usual.
Yes, sir. This global climate warming change thing that doesn't really exist sure has made a mess of things.
Yes,
Coach.
it has. You can believe it or not.
Yes, sir. All right, Coach. I believe I see no, that's not Gorby. That's Posey. He's down there trying to scrape up some armadillos for dinner this evening. Anyway, so but I'm going to head out and head back toward the wonderful hills of West by God, Virginia.
Maybe it'll be cooled down by the time you get back.
Yes, sir. It'll definitely be raining. I'll chase all the rain there, blow it off the East Coast as misty turns on the turbos.
Guarantee you it'll be raining. All right.
Yes, sir, Coach. Well, this has been Misty Rains. Well, this has been Misty Rains Flying, and me, Muggy McLeod, with your one eye in the sky NRN Shadow on Friday and weather report. Over and out, Coach.
Over and out, Muggy. Be safe.
Yes, sir.
All right, that is Muggy McLeod. Let's see here if he landed yet or not. I think he's still up there. Oh, he landed finally. Muggy up there in the air at Texas went out to watch the Mountaineer baseball team, and again, I think he must have passed them on the way out. That was one of my hell nolls I'll get to here in just a moment. But got all kinds of stuff going on in the sports world at WVU and here in high school sports as well. Even has some local stuff going on that hopefully before we get off the air, we'll have some news about Oak Hill. They're participating right now in the regional baseball game over at Jerry Epperly Field against GW. And the winner of this game will advance to the state tournament. So hopefully before we get off, we'll find out what the outcome of that game was. Or maybe if anybody's listening or can tune in, they can let somebody know out there to let us know what's going on in the baseball game, and we'll have that for you before we leave, we hope. So with that being said, also got the girls softball just wrapped up. Had a local team or two in that. We'll talk about the winners, how that all turned out, and who won the state championships in all 3 classes. And also WVU has some stuff going on. Some good news popped out there a couple days ago with the basketball team. We'll talk about that a little bit, and also some sports columns about the football squad as well. Not statewide sport columns, but country-wide sports columns. It's mentioned the Mountaineers, and I want to read that to you. Also, we do want to mention, too, that tonight, Darren informed me we are going in, I think he said 4K for the first time ever, and we'll hope that turns out well. We're experimenting just a little bit with it. Should be a lot better, and we hope it works well. But with that being said, we also got news, or Darren got news this past week that he has been approved, the NRN, the New River Network, approved for taking over a local community channel here in Oak Hill from our local channel, which is Channel 4, which means that we will be on cable TV now, Channel 4 Optima. That's the cable network, and we will be on Channel 4 for that. So I guess, I don't know, I'm assuming that all the stuff we do, the shows and the parades and things that Darren does, I'm sure that's all going to be on Channel 4, just like we put it out there on the internet. It'll be on the cable TV, and that helps. A lot of people are not well versed in using, the apps and the live streams and YouTubes and Facebooks and all that. So they depend on. I know I have a couple of neighbors, and I've spent a year trying to explain to them and show them how to use it. I don't think it's that they don't understand it. I think they just don't want to fool with it. So they prefer to watch things on cable, which I get. So they'll be able to watch. They always tell me that if you're on the cable, we can watch you. And I try to explain to them, well, pull your phone out or your laptop and watch there, but they don't do that. Again, I don't think it's because they can. I think it's because they just don't want to fool with it. But anyway, that'll be a good thing for us and the community, we think, as Darren will have plenty of content for that channel. A lot of good stuff will be on there. And I know people are going to enjoy it, especially with the high quality cameras and things that Darren is able to put together. He's technologically a whiz, and I'm guaranteeing you, with the exception of me and Gorby, the product will be good, and we look forward to that and any input people might have on that. With that being said, also we want to get to our hell yells and our hell nalls for this week, and typically I do a couple. I throw it to Gorby, and he stumbles around and tries to look one up on his phone real quick, and then I do another one and throw it to him, and he still hasn't found one, so I do another one. So tonight, since he's not here, I'll just relax and do them all. The first one, I've already mentioned this, is a recent basketball signing at WVU. So this is my hell yeah, one of my hell yells, and it brought a lot of attention to the Mountaineer program. Once this player signed, he comes from Oklahoma State. His name is Javon Small, and he's made an interconference move, and this will provide a scoring punch for WVU and also the point guard I think that they've been looking for. I think he averaged 14, 15 points a game last year at Oklahoma State, so that's a big addition to the Mountaineer basketball program. So big hell yeah to the Mountaineers on that, and things seem to be trending very well in the basketball realm. And I think we talked last night about it quite a bit, and I think that people are really comfortable with what we have leading the program and the direction that the program is headed in. So, and I'm going to read a little bit of information that came in from a website called Sports Grid. Read them a lot. They have really good insight and pay attention to what's going on around the country. And they had a nice little write-up about West Virginia's basketball team. So I'll read that to you here in just a little bit. The second hell yeah, I mentioned the show last night, and luckily last night on the show, we were fortunate enough to have the legend himself, Tony Caridi, on, and that was a blast. We got to spend about 40 minutes with Tony, getting his insights and his input, and man, that was a thrill. Of course, he does all the Mountaineer basketball, football games. He does not want to be called the voice of the Mountaineer, which I learned last night. I told him before, the first time I ever interviewed him was, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago maybe, and I was a little nervous when I did it. He's the only one I ever got nervous. Last night I didn't get nervous, but a little embarrassed when I called him the voice of Mountaineers. He's like, let me correct you. Yeah, so I took that to heart, and then we had it on our ticker going across that it was the voice of the Mountaineers, so we took that off real quick as well. So we apologize to him for that. But anyway, yeah, it was a thrill getting a chance to talk to Tony. And if you're a Mountaineer fan and you have any concerns about everything that's going on in the NCAA and conferences and that sort of thing, Tony has a way of explaining things and soothing your nerves a little, saying, it's going to be okay, one way or the other. It may not be as good as we think it is, may not be as bad as we think it is. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, but WVU is going to be just fine. And we all said we're taking that to heart, and we are believing you no matter what. So a good time last night on the Mountaineer locker room with Tony Caridi. Frank Fear, Mickey Plumlee, and myself had the opportunity to interview him, and it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. You go back and watch it too if you want on YouTube. Just type in the Mountaineer locker room then and now, and you'll find that on there. And I think we all posted links to it as well if you want to check it out. My third hell yeah is the Boston Celtics. Joe Mazzulla, former Mountaineer great and friend of our families, and the Boston Celtics head coach has his team 3 games away from playing in the NBA Finals. And I would, for one reason, not only do I like Joe personally, and I think he's a great coach, I just would like to see him win the NBA championship so those people in Boston would shut up. Every time they lose a game or don't win by 20, they blame him and talk about how bad a job he does. And I'm thinking, the guy won 65 games this year. That's pretty good. And, I think coaching in the NBA is not so much, X's and O's and drawing up plays. And that's what, he did draw up a nice play for the the Italian three-port bucket the other night. It's not all about that as much as it is managing people and managing these egos and knowing how much playing time certain people need to get and how you rotate your people against the competition, how you seek out, mismatches with the competition. And I don't think there's anybody. There may be people as good as him at that, but I don't think there's anybody any better. And I know, the type of coach he is, the type of work he puts into it. And I know that he sees all these things. And I've always said this, he can't go out there and make a basket, a three-pointer that Jason Tatum misses or Jaylen Brown misses. It's not Coach Missoula's fault that they miss. And everybody misses, and no matter what the coach says, they're going to miss. And, they just blame him for every single thing that happens. And it just blows my mind. I just don't understand it. And I'm on all these I'm a Boston Celtics fan, have been my whole life. And I read all these pages that they have and fan pages and that sort of thing, which I probably shouldn't. Sometimes I comment when I had enough, but they just hammer Joe on there, and I'm not sure why. But what I said, I did make a comment the other day about somebody saying if he loses this round of the playoffs or he loses in the NBA Finals, he's got to go. He's got to go. So I replied and I said, there's about 31 teams out there that would absolutely love to have him. So be careful what you wish for. And but anyway, hell yeah to the Boston Celtics. I hope they continue on right on up to the NBA Finals, and the championship would be great. The only thing that will make it better for all you Rob Howe Laker fans and Ed Crist Laker fans out there would be if they could beat the Lakers in the finals. That would be the only thing that would make it better. But that's not going to happen this year because they're out of it early. To the Hell Nolls. And one of our Hell Nolls we've already mentioned, and that was the WVU baseball team. Man, what a letdown. Those guys have been playing so well. They go to the first round of the Big 12 tournament, and right off the bat, they get beat by TCU. Then the next day, they lose to Kansas State. And as a result, they are done. They're out. And in the Big 12 tournament now, they believe that they should make the NCAA tournament, so that gives them a little bit of life there that they still can compete and play in the NCAA tournament. But what a letdown to go out there in that Big 12 tournament, and these teams that they've just been rolling all year long, and they just had beaten TCU 2 out of 3 at TCU, and they go out and they lose immediately to them. They only had 2 hits in the game. Of course, the pitcher they threw, I think, has been the pitcher of the year for 3 years in a row at TCU. He's awful good, supposed to be the number 1 draft pick, and so they just didn't hit the ball. Against Kansas State, they started off well, 3 runs first inning, went up 3-0, and then lost, I think, 8-3. Something to that. I didn't pay attention to the final score. Once I saw them down that much, I quit watching, but end up losing to Kansas State. So that ended their Big 12, and a couple of feelings about that is, one, it's kind of unfair to WVU. They have to go out to TCU and play Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Well, then the Big 12 tournament starts up on Tuesday. So, they obviously, when they played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they obviously went out on Tuesday probably, I'm sure, maybe Wednesday morning, and were there from that point in time until this following Tuesday, Wednesday, and they were, out there for all that time. They had to stay in Texas and away from home, having to, people don't understand how hard that is. You got to think about their daily routine. They get up, there's breakfast involved, there's practices and practice fields, trying to find places to practice and getting all that organized. I mean, people take care of that for them, but it's still, you have to get there and do your practice, whatever. Then there's lunch, and then you got the afternoon, what we go do in the afternoon, and then there's dinner. Okay, we eat dinner, then what are we going to do for the rest of the night? You got young people, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, energetic. You've got to find things to keep them occupied and things for them to do. And it's exhausting. And they don't realize it, but it tires them out as well. So I'm sure they were a little bit wore down. And after the first game, when they lost to that really good pitcher, I kind of felt like Randy Mazey just said, you know what, because WVU didn't throw any of their top pitchers in the second game. I think he just said, you know what, we're going to just wrap this thing up, get out of here, go home, get some rest, and wait for the NCAA tournament to start. and I believe that's what the plan is and was, because he, like I said, he didn't play. He didn't start any of his top pitchers against Kansas State in the second game, and had they won that second game, they still got to play. I don't know how many more games, 4 or 5 more games to have a chance to win it. So it would have really stretched him thin, and I feel certain that was his thought. So anyway, and Darren, I want to mention to you, our guest tonight was waiting on a link to get on. So if you want to send that, just go do the phone only. We're not doing the video. Okay, I told him you'd send him a link, so I thought we was going to do that. But all right, then. Another hell no. This guy I said would probably say he had a worse week than I did. Name is, you may be familiar with it, you may not. His name is Doug Scaff, and Doug Scaff ran for Secretary of State last week and got soundly defeated in the election. Was out taking down signs a day or two later and got bit by 2 different copperheads, 5 places, 5 bites, and was in the hospital in intensive care for 2 or 3 days, still limping around, still in a lot of pain on the mend, but not totally healed just yet. And he ended up with 5 bites, 4 on one leg, 1 on his big toe on the other foot, and it was rough for him. And I know somebody that knows him and said they talked to him and said it was unbelievable pain. He's still in unbelievable pain, but he's recovering. So I said, this guy had a worse week than me after I put $1,700 in car repairs over the last 2 weeks. So I feel pretty good now looking at what Doug Scaff has been through. But anyway, that was my second hell no. The third hell no here before we take a break. The third hell no is the police department in Louisville, Kentucky. Video came out today. There was a video not on scene of where the golfer Scheffler was arrested before the second round of the PGA Championship tournament, and they arrested him. And the police report said he got dragged by a cop. Got dragged by the car that went through. The policeman did, and anyway, they arrested him. But anyway, today somebody did release a video that they had taken, and it showed that the police report was a little bit off from what actually happened. So the police officer got in trouble, and I'm sure that those charges are eventually going to be dropped. But a hell no, big hell no out there to the Louisville police for fabricating that police report. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all that, but I thought that was a big hell no. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get Benetiz Jackson on the phone. Benetiz is the head basketball coach of the Oak Hill Red Devils, and he'll explain to us about this new sectional regional thing that's lined up in basketball. Hopefully he'll explain it and tell us how he feels about it, and we hope you'll stay tuned for that. So you're listening to the Courtside with Coach Crist show here on the New River Network. We hope you'll stay tuned for that. Be right back.
Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. See hard-hitting wrestling action from today's rising stars in independent wrestling. If you are a wrestling fan of any generation, let us introduce you to the hottest wrestling promotion in West Virginia. You can also join a live show at the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network.
Welcome back to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I'm Greg Crist, soloing it tonight. Mr. Gorby, who I may call up here in just a few minutes, is out on the golf course taunting us, I think, from the eighth hole where he's out there sunbathing and playing golf. So we'll try to get a hold of Gorby here in a minute. But right now we're joined by our guest, Mr. Coach Benetiz Jackson. Benetiz, of course, a graduate of Oak Hill High School back in the late 90s. He took over the Red Devils basketball job 2015. He this year surpassed his 100th career victory, and we're excited to have him on because we want to find out some information about what's going on with the SSAC. Benetiz, appreciate you joining us, my man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys having me.
I know you were out there enjoying the baseball game and had to cut that short because of this, and I didn't ask you to be on until late this afternoon. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. We were trying to get Corny on here, and we can't. He not only snubbed me, but he snubbed you as well. He won't answer anybody, man. He doesn't hit the big time, man. He ain't got time for us.
He's running all over the place.
I guarantee he's head spinning, man.
He's busy.
Yep.
Recruiting and making appearances, and he's living a different life right now.
Guarantee it. I know we talked to Ethan Faulkner a couple weeks ago took the Youngstown State job, and he said basically the same thing. He'd been running around like a madman for weeks now, trying to get everything in line, get everything recruiting taken care of, and all that kind of stuff. So I can't imagine.
Yeah.
The good thing for Corny is he at least got in early enough that he didn't have to. It wasn't just thrown at him all of a sudden. I mean, at least he had a little bit of time.
He knows the program.
Right.
He knows the program. He's been there, and so I think they've signed some. I've been following them, and they've signed some good guys, and they got they hired Rob Fulford as the associate head coach. So
right.
I think that's a big thing for them. Rob, all his ties to around the country where he's been, and he's a West Virginia guy, so. We think he's gonna. I think it's gonna be great for him all over around.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to watch him, and we'll get him on eventually. Things will calm down a little bit for him here, and we'll get him on and pick his brain a little bit. But we're happy to have you. And this has been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and I haven't really talked to anybody about it. But this new SSAC rule thing came out where they're basically doing away with the sectional tournaments, and I didn't. Get to hear all of it. I just heard parts of it, and but I obviously I never understand it until somebody explains it to me in layperson's terms. So, you tell me what the new policy is when it goes into effect, and what it's going to be.
Well, I didn't know much about it until last week, and I didn't even know this was even under consideration until it came out last week. But I think what it was, I think a lot of people in that competition committee didn't like the fact that the loser of a section could really go to the state tournament. I think that's what it kind of comes down to.
Yeah.
And with the 4 classes that they've put in place for all the sports, and they realigned some things. A lot of the sections are a lot smaller than it used to be. So for us, we got 3 teams in our section, and then we'll have 3 teams in the other section. So the whole region. So I think. There's no more regional championship games. I know they took that out. Mm-hmm. So it's like for us, it's like we got 6 teams, and I guess the last team, the 1 through 6. I guess the first team will have a bye or whatever, and you play. They got to win 1 game, and they'll get in.
Right.
They'll be in the state tournament. So it's going to take. I think it's going to eliminate some games. One, but the one thing that I'm a little confused about it. Well, I'm not confused about it. I know how it's going to work, but. The coaches are going to see them. I think that hopefully down the road, it may make it mandatory where we have to play everybody in the region.
That's one thing I said when I saw it, and I looked at it, and I said, well, what they need to do is make it mandatory that everybody in the region plays each other twice during the regular season. Then that way you don't have any difficulty seeding the thing. You can put some tiebreakers in it. Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to do it that way.
Yeah, because I think you go into, a lot of times we don't see teams. We play everybody in our region at least once for the next year, but it's still the simple fact that we put it in the humans' hands to do the seeding.
Well, and I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I did that one time when they first started seeding the sections, and I caught total hell for that, and made the Charleston Gazette and everything, and had to fall out from it. But even the superintendent had some words with me about it. But this was my point I was trying to make. I didn't deliberately snub somebody I didn't like or anything like that. I was trying to make a point to them that this is not a fair way to do this because I've never seen Pocahontas County play all year. I don't play them myself in the regular season. I see that they're winning lots of games. I don't know who they're playing. And I said, people that are from there that I've talked to have told me, they're just okay, you know. And I said, I have no way of knowing how good that team is. And the point I was trying to make to them was, you can't do it this way. And, of course, I caught all kind of grief, and people in Pocahontas County probably hate me to this day. But that's not why I did it. I just thought it's the wrong way to do it. There's too much, guesswork involved, and if you're playing each other, then I think that takes care of that. That eliminates that human element.
Well, you look at our baseball team this past year. They do it a little bit different. They do the seeding deal for section and region, and Greenboro East is the #1 seed in the section for us, and we split with them. Woodrow got the 2 seed. We beat them twice this year. Right. So how does that happen? That's I don't know. I'm not going to put anything against anybody else, but somebody. If you're looking at anybody's schedule and it's posted on you look at the results, you can see that we beat Woodrow twice. There's no reason we should. They should have been ahead of us in baseball. So,
exactly. Yeah. And that's going to happen, because there are people that will say, I don't like Benetiz, so I'm going to vote him last. You know what I mean? Exactly. That's going to happen, and I guarantee it will happen. And, exactly. But anyway, so it's just going to be everyone in the region just going to play it. It would be like a sectional tournament. You're just going to play it out. Whoever wins is that one team, the only team that advances, right?
Well, they send 2 teams, but you don't. There's no championship game in the region anymore. So there's if whoever the last 2 teams stand in, basically. So I guess if 2 and 6 play, and then they got to play the 1 seed, whoever wins that game goes, and then whoever wins the 3-4 game goes. Okay. Yeah, goes to the tournament. So there's no more championship game from what I understand. Okay. But they take 2 teams, so I think that's going to eliminate 3 or 4 games. The other thing that I was questioning really wasn't, and I don't guess it's a big deal, but like with sectionals, the teams get the money. Regional games,
right?
SSAC get all the money. But I'm just wondering, like, if that's a big, we usually get a couple $1,000 sectional games,
right?
So I don't know what how that's going to work now as well.
I'm going to take a guess and say you might get a little bit, but you ain't going to get very much.
I'd say we're not going to get it.
Yeah. If I remember the way it always worked before, you never get anything. Anyway, well, I think so. Have you talked to any other coaches about this? In just meetings or anything? Have you heard how other coaches feel about it?
I haven't. We haven't talked about it. Like I said, I didn't find out until it was on Luke Press.
Right.
Or I was seeing it on Twitter. That's the first time I'd even heard it was under consideration that they were going to do that. Yeah. They changed our section too. We at first it was us, Capital, Riverside, Woodrow, and then for some reason they moved Capital up with Cabell, Midland, and other squeens, and they put St. Albans in our region. St. Albans, George Washington, South Charleston. So I'm not sure why Capital went up to another region with the Kanawha Valley, with all the other Kanawha Valley schools, but it was confusing to me. I was really confused. So I don't.
They do a lot of things that confuse you, and I hadn't heard about it either. And I was driving to Morgantown the other morning, had the radio on, listened to a talk show, and they started talking about it. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And they didn't explain it quite as clearly as you did, but what I got out was there was no more sectionals. It was just going to be, it wasn't even going to be a regional tournament. It was going to be regional play. Like you said, no champion is going to be crowned. And one of the people called in and said, well, a lot of these sections, a team can win 1 game and they get to advance to the region or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, you're going to have the same thing here, or they're going to play 1 game and advance to the state tournament,
right.
And I don't like that. I think that's wrong. And
you only got to win. The only team that's going to have, to me, the way, maybe I could be wrong, but the only team that's going to have to win the 2 games is the 2-6 seed, I would think.
Right.
The 1, or maybe the 3-4. The 3-4 maybe have to win 2 games, or I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be where you only got to. I think most teams will have to win 1 game and you're in the state tournament. from what I understand. But I think if that's the case, and I think with coaches' seeding, it's going to really, really play an impact in that.
Heck yeah, and if
everybody's going to set their team. I mean, I would think that most people,
yeah,
are going to set their team up for the best way they can.
Yeah, human nature is going to have you doing that.
Going to get a hold of you, and you're going to do the, your best matchup is going to be
right,
right there.
Right. Yeah, I don't care for that part of it. I just think that even the best team can have a bad night once in a while, and
right.
That's one thing I liked about the way it was set up before is that you may have a bad night and lose in your section, but you'd be better than everybody else, and you come back and make a state tournament. Anyway, I like that myself. I didn't think
I did too. I like the way. We benefited from it. 2010. I think we were the first team to ever benefit from it, where we lost the sectional and we ended up winning the state championship.
Right.
I don't know if anybody. I'm sure somebody's done it since, but I know we were the first team to do it in 2010. When we lost the sectionals they beat us by 20 or 25 points. We came back and then we beat them in the state championship game. But I think it also showed you that we were the best two teams in the state.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because anybody can have a bad game,
Right.
And that's a classic example right there of I think they need to leave it the way it is. And I've not yet to figure out what the motivation behind it was. And those people make these decisions without a lot of input, usually from coaches. And when coaches do have input, they reject it. But also, I look at it from a fan's perspective. Of course, I mean, grew up with the other system and coached in the other system. I think from a fan's perspective, they look forward to those sectional tournaments. And here's another thing I like about it. Your team may not be good enough. And sometimes these sectionals can be awful weak, and the team that comes out there as the champion may not be a really good team, and they may lose in the region, which is fine because they're not good enough to make state tournament. But they win that sectional tournament, and it gives them something to be proud of, and gives them a trophy.
Yeah, and
a
home game.
Yeah, get home games. Yeah.
Yeah, and it happened to us a couple years ago. We was the 4th seed a couple years ago, and was able to get out of win the section, which I thought we were. A lot closer. I think the competition-wise, talent-wise, was a lot closer than what it was. What we showed all through the year. But being the 4th seed and able to get out, and then getting that home game brought a lot of excitement.
Oh yeah.
Even though we lost, South Charleston was a better team than us that day for sure. But it brought a lot of excitement to the community. Sold out the game days before the game was sold out. And it put our kids in a chance where they had a chance at home to beat probably a more talented team than we were to go to the state tournament.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's that's going to be something they remember is the packed house and how exciting it was.
Yeah.
Win or lose, still lots of excitement, and that's going to be something they're going to remember. And I honestly, when I heard it, I was just like, why do they want to do that? I don't understand. I still don't understand their motivation behind it because. I did hear him say, well, teams, a lot of people don't like the fact that somebody can lose and still make a state tournament. And I'm like, I don't understand what difference that makes. You lose games during the regular season, you might win the state championship. You may lose 10 games, And
I think that was the motivation behind it. From me, my personal perspective, I think that was the motivation behind it. I think a lot of people didn't like the fact that a loser in their section could still go to the state. But I think that I think the overall goal to me was to try to get the best 8 teams to the state tournament.
Right.
Which I think that should be the overall goal anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm not so sure. If you're going to call these regions, then figure out a way to have your regional winners play. Before the state tournament. I mean, something to earn that trip. I mean, you may and 6 teams. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, your alls is always going to be pretty strong. Somebody's going to be good in your region, but there's going to be regions out there. I guarantee you where there's 5 or 6 not very good teams. And
right.
So I just don't.
You look at our region. You got us and Riverside, Woodrow, George Washington, South Charleston, St. Albans. I mean, I think that 9 times out of 10, 2 of those teams out of that region are going to be one of the top 8 schools in the state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have other regions where 2 teams are going to be coming out that it may not be very good at all because of the whole reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's going to happen, but if you figure out a way to seed that and then play some games region to region, you probably would end up with the 8 best teams or close to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And if that's their goal, then they need to put a little more thought into it than this. I just when I saw it, I just thought, man, I don't understand this, and I want to find out exactly how it's going to be done. So I'll know, and now that I know, I like it even less because I think I just don't think it's real fair. And
I've talked to a couple people that's like, I don't understand, but I don't know. I don't really know the ins and outs of it. I wasn't involved in any of the decision making. So,
right.
We just show up, and play, but
that's right.
And see what happens.
I would think that, and I don't know this for sure, but I would think that the coaches overall won't like this because I think as a coach, the way I would look at it, and when I coach is, we may have that bad night and we may get beat, but we may be the best team in the section or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, it can happen, and at least you knew, well, if we do lose or we make that sectional championship, we know we're going to get one more shot. So it gave you something to really work for, shoot for. And I think this kind of takes that away because, basically you lose, you're done,
Yeah, you're one and done now. I mean, basically, if you lose, you're done. So you don't have a chance. Like you said, like in the past, even if you get to the sectional championship, you're like, okay, even if we lose this,
right.
We still have a chance to go play another section and do that.
Yeah, and the way I look at that, instead of looking at it as a team that's losing, making the state tournament, I look at it as a team that lost but was better than anybody in that other section,
Right.
And that's why they won and got to go. And, because for years, I mean, it was the big talk everywhere around here. Oak Hill and Woodrow had to play in the first round of sectionals, and one of the best teams in the state would get beat right off the bat, And
exactly.
I think that's what kind of creating here that some of your good teams are going to have a bad night, and that's going to be it. They're going to be done. I don't think it'll be. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a real good system. I don't think you're going to get the best teams down there. I think you're going to be missing a few teams that that are in these tougher regions. And of course, I don't know with only having to win one game.
You got to win one. That's the thing. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm glad you explained a little bit better. I think as it goes on and we get more info on it, we can maybe call you back and talk to you a little bit more about it because
For sure.
I'd like to understand it a little better. I think the fans are going to be disappointed, though. I think it's been this way for as long as I can remember, and people always look forward to the sectional tournament. No matter what your season was like, you had that sectional tournament coming.
Yeah, you knew the section was coming, and you had something to look forward to, and and those are usually your rivalry people.
Yeah,
the section usually people that closer
to you most
of the time.
Yeah.
And that was always exciting for people.
Oh, yeah.
Eliminating that is going to be tough, but
Yeah.
I guess they have their reasons, and hopefully it works out for the best.
Yeah, my next goal will be to get somebody from SSAC on to explain it and explain the reasoning behind it. So, of course, I don't know if that'd be a good idea because I'd end up arguing with them, but it's what I always did anyway. So might as well keep it up.
Right? Yeah.
But I don't think coaches are going to like it. I don't think fans are going to like it. I'll say that right up front. So, but we'll see. I may be totally wrong. I don't know. Maybe wrong. Hopefully I am. Hopefully. So you guys also, again, I'm a little bit clueless on all this stuff, but as far as your summertime goes now, how many days do you guys get in the summer to work?
You get 32 flex days now for the whole year.
Okay.
So, and I think they start over July, after the July 4th, after the first week of July, I think they start over. And then you get 32 for your whole year. So, we're gearing up to use some in June, and then we'll start, I think it starts over, then we can use some in July, and then we'll use some in the fall. But they just give you like 32 days you can use throughout the whole year, as long as they're not the week before practice, and you can't make it mandatory for any of it.
Right. So those 32 days is out of season, I guess.
Out of season practice,
okay. Okay, so it don't count.
Coach can be there and work with them if that's going to a game or you're working them out or whatever you want to do.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Sounds a little better than what it used to be, where you couldn't do anything.
Yeah. They've expanded it every few years. They expand. It used to be no out of season coaching, and it was 3 weeks, and then it was 32 days. You can use it when you want to,
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's good. And
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
we lagged behind for so long, developing players in West Virginia just because of that. You couldn't do,
Right.
you couldn't do it.
I think we're
And,
starting to catch up. Starting to see that we got to catch up with that now, and so hopefully this helps. I think a lot of schools are taking advantage of it. We're going to take advantage of it. We try to use all of our days. With the kids that don't play football,
absolutely.
use those days in the fall to work out some kids and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great. Yep. Well, you have to keep us posted on the squad. And I know you don't know a whole lot about what you got going on now, but you'll know more as the summer rolls on, I'm sure, as you get them together and get some time in. You'll be able to tell a little bit. I wanted to ask you one other thing, too. We talked about this last night and a couple of weeks ago on another show I do up in Morgantown. We talked about the NIL, and somebody sent us a question. Did we think that we will see the NIL on the high school level? And I commented basically and said we already do. It's happening in Pennsylvania. There's a couple states that's already made it legal.
Right.
And I don't know around here if we'll see it. I don't know. For one, if we have players that are good enough to get NIL. I mean, at one time we did, and we may again. Or if there are enough people that can support something like that around here. If that would happen in West Virginia, I think, of course, my other comment was, well, it happened for years. The whole time I coached, it happened because we had all those private schools in there letting people have free education but it always turned out all 5 of them could play basketball. I think if that would happen in the state of West Virginia, you'd have a total disparity because your city schools down in Kanawha County, up in Morgantown, in their bigger places, I think would dominate because they get all the good players.
Yeah. Martinsburg, Morgantown, Huntington, they would dominate for sure. But like you said, I think I don't know if it's happening. I'm sure, some things have happened before.
Uh-huh.
We've been around long enough. We all hear the rumors.
Oh yeah.
But I think if you get a player good enough, I don't know if we have any players good enough in the state right now that would even warrant, but I do see it in some other states where some, high profile players or their team sign Nike deals or Adidas deals or in getting that their name, image and likeness thing. But I think it would probably happen at some point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If we get a player that's high profile enough to warrant that type of, if you think about when OJ Mayo and Patrick Patterson were playing at Huntington, if the rules were the same, it would have been, I'm sure they would have commanded some deals.
I guarantee you. Well, and you even think back there with PG Green and some of those guys, Tracy and
those guys who they knew that were going to be, going to big time schools and, Randy Moss and those guys. Jason Williams, back then, I'm sure it would have been, if the rules were the same then, they would have been commanding some big time deals from companies and had some money. Yeah,
and I think all it'll take is eventually a lawsuit, which is what that's the only way to ever get anything done. And of course, I always said the SSAC, they have their lawyer must feel like, and you're too young to know this, but they feel like Edgar Berger was always the lawyer that fought against a guy by the name of Ironsides. That was the name of the show, Ironsides, and he was the lawyer. He was in a wheelchair. That's why they called it Ironsides, and he lost. Ironsides beat him every time, and Edgar Berger was always the lawyer on the other side, and he always lost. I said, that's the SSAC's lawyer. So I know if somebody files a lawsuit against them, they'll lose, and that's going to come. I mean, that's what's happening in the NCAA right now. It's just going to trickle down, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And
every time somebody doesn't agree, they file a lawsuit, and we kind of, it seems like, I know in the NCAA it seems like they kind of buckle down, kind of kneel down to whatever, lawsuits. They don't want to fight it. I think everybody's kind of in a holding pattern and trying to figure out, don't want to do anything rush. They don't want to deny anything.
Right.
Kind of everything go right now because they don't know where everything's going to go.
They don't want to expose themselves. And and like I said with the NIL thing, the NCAA's already lost. It says you can't deny somebody using their image and likeness to earn money. You just can't do that. That's illegal. It's
Right.
not the way this place works. And I said, so what's going to keep him from saying the same thing about, a kid in high school who is old enough to work, if he can get a sponsorship from somebody or, commercials, whatever, why can't he do that?
Right.
How can you prevent them from doing that? And so it'll come eventually. I would
It'll
give you,
come eventually.
yeah, I'd give you comes while you're still coaching. I'd give you some advice, and that is quit, get out, don't deal with it. Well, I would hate to be.
Harder and harder with the transfer rule.
I know,
all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. So, it's
It's horrible.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it anymore. And these college coaches, I wouldn't be a college coach right now for nothing the way that mess is. But
It's not hard.
yeah, oh gosh, that'd be terrible. All right, I'm gonna let you go. I pulled you away from the baseball game, and I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to talk to us about that. We're interested in finding out about these new rules and how it's gonna affect everybody. And we'll talk to you again about it as soon as we get more info. So we'll have you back on.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. All right.
All right.
Good friend Benetiz Jackson, and Benetiz does a good job over here at Oak Hill, and I know he's this new section region thing. I knew he'd have some thoughts on that. And again, it sounds like it's a little bit murky right now to most people. They don't really understand it, and don't know what's happening with it. And I think everybody's just kind of, like I said, in a holding pattern right now, trying to figure out how it's all going to work before they decide whether or not they like it, because I'm sure they haven't thought all the scenarios through yet, and they're going to come in and run into things that they're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't think this was the intent of this. I'm going to make one more quick call here. I don't know if I'll get an answer or not, but got a report that Dave Gorby's out running around, so we're going to see where he's at. Probably afraid to answer. Hello, is this Dave Gorby?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got a report here that you are out in the sun, kicking back, playing a little golf, having a cold one, when you're supposed to be working. Any truth to that?
I mean, I'm not drinking a cold one. I mean, so.
But you have shirked on your duties to go golfing, correct? All we want you to do is admit it.
Yeah, I am on the golf. Well, I was on the golf course.
I hear you. Well, I hate you couldn't be here tonight. I understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one of those things that I really wasn't thinking. And
I got you.
I'm going to play this afternoon. And
Yeah.
he sent me that text, and I was like, oh, shoot.
Well, I can understand. I mean, we've only done the show, 3 years now on Thursday nights, I guess.
Right.
Just kidding. How'd you shoot today?
I shot 77. I was 1 over on the front, 4 over on the back.
Not bad.
Yeah.
In mid-season form yet, or are you still working on your game?
It's getting close right now.
Getting close. I hear you.
Tournaments are coming up. It's getting close.
Yep.
So.
Yep. We'll have to track you on these tournaments and see how you do in them. I always look in the newspaper. They always put them in the Beckley paper, so I'm able to keep up with you there.
Yeah.
Who's your playing partners today?
I had my boy Timmy Boggs over there. Mike Halstead,
Yeah.
Guthrie, and Jeff, and Dave Crone. I mean, it's just our little group. They got some games this week. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to play this weekend, but they're gonna have some games out there this weekend. I know. Memorial Day weekend
Right.
and all that.
Right.
A lot of money.
I hear you. Hopefully you can win some and get us dinner one evening. We talked to one of your bosses tonight, Benetiz Jackson. We talked to him about the this new SSAC ruling about the way they're going to do the regions now.
Yeah.
And he explained it a little better to me. I didn't really understand it, but hopefully next week when you're back here, we'll talk about that again and get your insight on it, because I know you understand it a whole lot better than I do. And I think we were all kind of caught off guard. I had no idea they were even considering something like this.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me too. They came out with those sections there. It seemed like over a month ago.
Yeah.
And they kind of moved some teams around, so I thought that was kind of it. But they made some announcements last week, and one kind of included the points on the rating system on football, how they're doing points now.
Right. They had
the only thing that's changed is it's 4 classes.
Right.
It's not like they've changed the formula. It's just
right.
they're doing the points on that side. But yeah, it completely caught me out of shock on them
Yeah.
sweeping the sectional completely. It's just, I guess it's just a regional now.
Yeah, yeah, and there's not even a regional champion per se.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So,
Yeah.
I told Benetiz my feeling on it was after I heard it was one, the coaches weren't going to like it, and the fans definitely are not going to like it. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and especially they're not going to have a regional champ. Like, that's kind of one of the fun things about it. You're cutting nets like when
Right.
you win the sectionals. You're cutting nets when you win the regionals. Now some teams, they got strong tradition. They're like, we're always in Charleston every year. I've never been on one of those. We're
Right.
cutting nets. So
Yeah. I just don't think after looking at it and hearing it, I don't think people are going to like it too well. Hopefully, it's just experimental, and they'll rework it and go back at least something similar to the way it was before, because that was not a bad system there. I didn't think.
right. Yeah.
And they said part of the reasoning was they hated to see, and we'll talk about this later, they hated to see somebody lose a game and then still be able to make a state tournament. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so you'd rather see somebody win one game and make it to the state tournament.
Right.
So I don't get that. I don't understand that. So anyway, we'll talk about it next week when we get more info. Me and you'll have a little discussion about it. So, all right, brother, I'll let you go, and we're getting ready to wrap things up here. So I'll be in touch.
All right. Sounds good, Coach.
All right, Gorb, take care, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All right, co-host Dave Gorby out on the golf course tonight, not able for make it to the show, so we'll forgive him for that. We don't blame him. We understand. A couple of things real quick here before we do sign off. I said we were going to mention one was the Mountaineer football team, and this came from top 50 college football storylines from 24/7 Sports. And I know a lot of people out there pay attention to 24/7 Sports, very reputable website and do a lot of good work. But the 30-second storyline they had was West Virginia wears the underrated crown, the underrated team of the year crown. They talked about the returning starters, talked about the quarterback, Green, they thought was going to take football by storm. A coach who has done a wonderful job and wears his heart on his sleeve and his emotions on his sleeve, and believe that he is the correct man to run the program. Then they said if they get a win over Penn State in the opening game, they could be a big surprise team of the year. So that's encouraging news. And then the other one I mentioned earlier, Sports Grid, they had the most improved college basketball teams at number 9. They had West Virginia because of the additions that they had made. And I'm not going to read the whole story, but they talked about Tucker DeVries, Javon Small from Oklahoma State, Amani Hansberry from Illinois, and a couple other guys that they mentioned that were going to make the West Virginia basketball team a formidable opponent. So we hope that comes true as well. So good news there for West Virginia. The other thing I wanted to mention was the girls' state softball tournament wrapped up today. We have 3 champions to mention: St. Mary's in single A, Winfield in double A, and University High in triple A. That's your 3 state champions in girls softball. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's the same teams win everything. First girls softball state championship in University High School history. So congratulations to them. And that all wrapped up. Midland Trail made it down there, but they got beaten in the first round by the eventual champion, St. Mary's. So good job by the Midland Trail Lady Patriots over in Hacko, West Virginia. All right, that's going to do it for the show tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope you'll tune back in next Thursday night as we'll try to come up and bring you some more good guests and talk about some good stuff here on the Courtside Show. So I'm Greg Crist for Dave Gorby, who's out on the golf course, and Darren McGuffin over there behind the controls. We appreciate you watching tonight. Good night. We'll talk to you next week.